Welcome to the Urban Pitch Podcast, the beautiful game of life. Today we have a very special guest in the house. I'm going to try and make sure I have your last name pronounced correctly. Geoff Gouveia?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, good job.
Thank you. Thank you. So what is that last name, the heritage of the last name?
It's Portuguese. So it's this little town in Portugal, the town of Gouveia. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I'm pretty sure, though, it's Gouveia is the correct way to say it in Portugal. I'm pretty sure my dad changed it. I don't know why, but...
Do you speak Portuguese at all?
Eu falo português? Just a little bit, like tiny bit. When I went to Brazil in 2014, I could get around a little bit. I speak Spanish much better, and I can understand a little bit. I think if I spent a month in Brazil, I could get conversational.
It'll start to come back again.
Yeah.
That's always how it is, right?
I have a Brazilian friend, and I'd ask him words all the time, and it's not good. Like he always laughs at me, because my pronunciation's not great.
Yeah, because you know enough in Spanish, and so you just need to know the twisting, right? The atención, how to just like twist it around a little, right?
Yeah.
Hey, tell the public out there. So what is your background in terms of like your career and what you do? Because I know you're an artist and all that, but can you kind of guide us through who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So I'm an artist, like you said. I'm focusing on soccer specifically as my medium. My background is in high school. Didn't really like art.
You did not like art in high school?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like more focused on soccer. Soccer was always my thing.
So you were not in like the art classes. You were not the one.
So the only reason I was in art class junior year is because you have to take an art class to pass high school, and I took it late because of soccer. Like the way the periods came about, and being a junior, you're the oldest one in the class. It's a bunch of squirrely freshmen. You're the junior, and you're way too cool to hang out with anyone. So, but I found that it was the first class I really paid attention. And then I was like, oh, maybe there's something here. So I started drawing. Didn't tell anybody that I liked art. It just wasn't something I was, comfortable with admitting. And then I went to college, and I was actually studying to become a pastor that first year. And after about a year, I was like, this isn't really for me. I'll go back to what I felt really engaged in, and that was making art. And then started making a ton of art. Started doing... my main focus was murals. Like I wanted to just go as big as possible. So I was finding abandoned warehouses and abandoned places that were already, beat up. I wasn't really into like the graffiti scene. I've never called myself a graffiti artist. Mostly because like I'm not that great at letters, and I feel like that's like its own craft. But I was really inspired by Spanish muralists like Aries, who do a ton of figure work but in weird places, and just started pursuing that, and then as you develop your skills, people started to notice online, and then started reaching out to companies, and then little by little started building it up.
All right, so let me kind of unpack this a little bit, because it's pretty interesting, so I had no idea. So growing up, you were not really into art, and you're not one of those guys that took classes necessarily, or doodling and all that kind of thing. You didn't have that creative outlet.
Man. No, I always feel like, even now, I feel like my older brother's better at drawing than me, and all I remember him drawing is that little S. You know what I'm talking about, like the Superman.
Yeah, you start with the 6 straight lines, and then you do it. Yeah.
That's like
that's the extent of my artistic career as well. Okay.
Yeah, but like my older brother would do that, and then he would also draw like people with just like a 10-pack. Like he was just really, really into that. And
10, not even 8.
No, it's just like as many abs
like
as you can add. Yeah, just put abs on everything, and it's like okay, that works. But no, I mean I don't remember drawing at all as a kid. I don't even remember liking things visually. Like it was never part of the equation.
Okay, and then in college, so what school is this? Bible college or?
So I went to California Baptist University in Riverside. Okay, and that's the city I currently live in.
Okay, and then while you were there, you realized, hey, you had a affinity towards art, and then you started switching and transitioning that way.
Yeah. It was more like, I mean, I'm still very much involved with my church. There's a ton of outside things that being a pastor calls. You can't really turn it off. Like it's a full-time plus position. And that just wasn't going to work for me. And I thought that art would be a better expression and way that I could excel in life.
Okay, got it. And then when you're saying you were into murals and you're like a muralist, are we still talking like spray cans and all that? Or
I've actually So I tried. You know, like when you think murals and you think outdoor art or graffiti, the first thing is, you know, spray paint.
Right.
But I found quickly, like, that's not me.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just, I think I'd have to spend more time, like, getting the can control. That's a, you know, a science on its own. Yeah. But the thing that I don't like about it is, number one, you can't mix colors. I mean, you can slightly, but you'd have to, like, fade into each other.
Okay.
Or you have to buy the specific color. I like being able to mix and match. And you also can't really change the stroke size. So it'd be like drawing with a ballpoint pen as opposed to charcoal. Like that's the difference. If you press really hard on charcoal, you can get a really flat line or like change it. But with ballpoint pen, you've got one thickness, and so I don't really like that.
Okay. So then how are you doing it? You're getting the just
so it's
roller,
like house paint, rollers, house paint,
yeah.
brushes, like similar style to like Mexican traditional murals, like Diego Rivera style, where it's just all house paint, all paint that can last for a very long time.
Okay.
It keeps the cost down on my end.
Right.
And I mean, now that's not really an issue because the client is paying for it and they would be happy to pay whatever the costs are for the supplies. But for me, I prefer the house paint still, no matter what. It's just something that I've grown accustomed to.
And right now, that's what you do. That's your profession, right? You're
That's
a professional artist, right?
I'm a professional artist.
Professional artist. That's awesome to say and hear.
Yeah, thank you.
So then, how do you go from being this guy that's in school and kind of you know, your foray into art, and then all of a sudden, what's the I don't want to say the path, but how to go from that to being a professional artist?
Yeah.
Was it like a slow transition?
It's definitely a slow transition. My background, I thought when I was studying art, I thought, all right, I'm gonna make money in coffee, because the whole time I was a barista, and I helped start a roastery in Riverside. I was like, all right, I'm gonna own this coffee shop, and on the side, I'm gonna do art, because for me, art was always an idea of like, I'm gonna do this when I'm 80 years old.
Right.
You know, it's just a passion thing. But then as I get near the end of senior year, I'm thinking this isn't me. Like, I need to do art. I need to like commit to the
barista is not. Yeah.
Well, no. It was like, I mean, I was doing wholesale coffee and like more steps removed like towards the owner.
Yeah.
I mean, being a barista is a very difficult thing to like support yourself on for long periods of time. It's good seasonal, but yeah, I mean, with art, I was like, all right, so how do I do this? And then just really started treating it like it was the coffee business, where I started approaching companies that I wanted to work with, and then just built one-to-one relationships.
Okay, so you had a portfolio. You were building your portfolio, and then you were going to different companies and saying, hey, I'm an artist. This is what I do. Do you have any need or work, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was so do you remember your first gig?
Yeah, my first gig was for a coffee shop.
Okay.
It was up in San Francisco. It's called Stanza Coffee. It's not really, I don't think it's there anymore. My buddy owned it, and he let me paint, and you know, he paid for the supplies and actually like taught me some stuff in the coffee industry.
Right.
So it was like, I didn't make any money, but I didn't lose any money, and I got some skills out of it.
So this was like artwork inside the shop?
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, and then I took that and leveraged it to do a gig for a local restaurant in Riverside. Took that, leveraged it for some more coffee shops. Once I had that portfolio, got my foot in with Facebook in 2014. Painted for Facebook. And
so what did you do for Facebook?
Just a mural in their LA office, in their first LA office, or I guess technically their third, but they're in a much bigger space now.
You didn't get any Facebook shares?
No, it was like right, and it was like right when the company was worth, I don't know, some stupid billions. But I basically did that Facebook gig like at cost. Okay. Like, I didn't make any money on it.
It's a resume builder, right?
Yeah, I mean, once you have one project like that, it's not hard to get anything else. Like, you just take that and then you just leverage it for something else.
Okay. When you say leverage, though, are you still hustling and approaching, or at that point are you getting approached by companies?
I mean, it's only now that I'm getting approached by people.
So even then, you're still hustling, but you now have something to be able to share and show and give you legitimacy, right? Okay.
Well, I mean, the reality is companies are only going to approach you based off what you've done in the past. So if you want to live the past, go ahead. The companies are just going to approach you. But if you want to prove something, then you have to approach them like, hey, what if we did it like this?
You want to evolve as an artist. Okay. So I'm familiar with your work, and I know a lot of the But all of that, from my perspective, is all soccer themes and players and all that. So what were you doing? You know, what did these early works look like? The early
I was doing a lot of anthropomorphic figures, meaning characters with animal heads, and that was really a reaction against. I didn't want to deal with questions of like, well, why do they look this certain way? Like, why is the ethnicity this? You know, like that wasn't really something that I was like commenting on. Right. So I just wanted to switch it to animals that like I didn't have to talk about.
Got it.
That type of you know, like. I understand it's a real issue.
Yeah,
but
there's like a sensitivity issue going on, right? PC culture, right? So you draw this one character, and it's like, hey, why'd you pick a Hispanic guy instead of a white guy or an Asian guy, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
you're just like, okay, animal head.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, animal head. Like, boom, solve that problem.
Right. Well, that's an Asian animal head.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I'm like doing some more stuff back towards that. I think I'm gonna like bridge that style back.
I've seen some of those, right? And the more come full circle and kind of incorporating that back into your
Yeah.
All right. What was the first soccer one then?
First soccer.
Yeah. How did that happen?
I went to Brazil in 2014 for the World Cup, and while I'm there, I mean, while you're in Brazil in general, you understand why football is the game, like the world's culture. It's like the sport, the thing to do. But during the World Cup, it's like that on steroids. Yeah. And I just immediately felt like, man, why am I not pairing such a huge part of my life? Because every time I travel to South America or Asia or wherever, like it's usually centered around soccer in some way. Why not pair the two? Why not start illustrating some of that and seeing where it could go? I mean, I had built a little bit of a niche within the coffee world, and my bet at the time in 2014 was, I bet there's bigger budgets with cooler brands and more opportunities all within soccer. So what if I just made soccer my niche? And I'm not going to say no to the outside world, but I'm going to really focus on, like, I want to know everybody in the soccer world. So then started doing just soccer illustrations, and then once I had like a little bit of a flavor for that I could prove to an art director, like, yo, I know what I'm talking about. Then I reached out to Marcus at LAFC, and Marcus was really the one who gave me that at bat to paint for LAFC, and that's what really started the foray into soccer. So that was, this takes us to about end of 2016, early 2017.
And what was that first one with LAFC?
So that was a mural outside their HQ.
And how long did that one last?
That one lasted like 100 hours, and then
100 hours, and then it got defaced.
Yeah.
Is that the correct term in the artistic world? Defaced? Or,
yeah, I mean, galaxy. They got galaxied is what it is. That's the better term.
It got galaxied. Okay. Yeah. And then,
no, I mean, it literally got galaxied. Like they painted the word. It was clever.
It was clever.
It was really clever.
Yeah.
And that actually helped my brand, like as me.
Yeah, because it went through the media, right? It got a lot more limelight based on the whole event surrounding it, right? It was, first of all, it was pretty cool that LAFC is reaching out within the community, local artists to really work together, right? And do something cool in the street world and graffiti art, not graffiti art, but art, right? Street art, right? On the outside. And then that was like really, I think, emblematic, right, of kind of their culture, right, the team culture. Yeah. And then it lasted, like you said, just like hours.
Literally hours.
Right, the LA Galaxy comes through, and we don't know who it is, but right, then they kind of did something to it. But then didn't get fixed, right? Didn't you do something to it? Yeah.
The way I painted it was not good for fixing it. Like, there's ways to combat. You can design a mural so that, like, all right, I know this part's going to get tagged on. Like, especially in LA, you have to plan for that. Yeah. But I don't know. I figured, all right, it's so close to HQ. Everyone's going to be stoked. Yeah. No. So the way I painted that one was not good for fixing it. Okay. And I actually, on that one, I messed up on the colors a little bit. Like, the gray I picked, if you look back on it, it's like a tan. And it was just wrong. So, and that's because of, like, the way the sun hit it. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna fix it this time.
It's like when the sun hits it, it's not gonna show as much. Is that why?
No. When the sun hit it, instead of it looking gray, it looked tan. It was like it was like a weird optical illusion because of like absorbing and reflecting that yellow.
Right. It wasn't true to the original colors that you had envisioned, is what you're saying, right?
Correct. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There was a miscommunication on my end of like which Pantone to use, and it's really hard to get a Pantone color in house paint. Like that's like very, very difficult. So that was hard, but I repainted it mostly black, and it was Carlos Vela trapping the ball in midair.
Right. So after it got defaced, then
they painted over it.
Right, they painted over it. Right.
Yeah, so it was blank again.
Yep. And so LAFC painted over it, and then they get another try to do something else.
Yeah, they're like, all right, let's do it again. Okay. So we did it again, and then that one lasted like 5 days as well. But and then the landlord of the thing was like, all right, no more. We're not doing this
because of the fact that it's
because it kept getting tagged.
Yeah.
Way to ruin a Galaxy.
Yeah. How did you feel when it first happened on the first one? Like it's like was it like one of those where it's like a high where you're like all super stoked and happy, and then all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, you know? Were you angry, upset?
I'm pretty even keel. I mean, it's when you paint something in the street, once it's left you, it's really the streets decide, you know, what happens to it. But for me, my thesis was based around, like, I want to be known within soccer. Yeah. And I had this feeling that as soon as Marcus called me, and Marcus was really upset, as, you know, he should be, I knew this was actually just going to be win-win for me. Like, it was so clear in my head, like, oh, wow, this actually is going to help me because now it's a story. Yeah. Now it's legitimate. Right. It aligns me with LAFC, this new hot thing that I knew. You know, I was on it real early before it became like this marketing juggernaut, and I just knew they were going to do well. Like, I just knew it. Even if they sucked as a team, I knew that the marketing was going to kill it. So what Galaxy, those people did was, instead of it being like, oh, LAFC hired an outside artist, it now became they defaced one of LAFC's artists. It's like a subtle shift, but they kind of gave me credibility in that. Like, why would they deface something unless it really embodied LAFC? Do you see how? And so
if it doesn't bother them, then they're not going to waste their time, right? If it's some janky. If I did something, LAFC mural, I know it's gonna mess with it. It's not artistic. It doesn't stand. It's not aligned with the club, right? But you're legitimate, right? It's authentic. It was commissioned. So yeah.
So then, and at that point, I hadn't painted for Adidas, and that was like the big fish for me. Was all right, if I can get Adidas, that means that it's not just USA, but it's a global thing. Because for me, I feel like Adidas is the route to go through if you want to reach the global scale. I mean, Nike's great, but Adidas for me is the global sponsor of the game, like the World Cup and all that, and FIFA just in general. But I knew that if I did this for LAFC and it made a big enough splash, I could shop it to Adidas. And that's exactly what happened.
So how did that happen?
So I was kind of cheeky about it. In the initial LAFC mural, there's a bunch of characters. Yeah. Well, one of them is actually the creative director for Adidas. Okay. Like, his face, his actual face.
Sam Handy?
Sam Handy.
Okay.
Yep, his actual face is in there. He's wearing the Ultra Boost.
I'll have to look at that again. Okay, interesting.
And I did that because I knew that Rich would take a picture and send it to him. Okay. Which is exactly what happened. So he sees it. All right, that's cool. So now I have a little bit of credibility. I take that, and then I start approaching other companies that work with Adidas, and I'm like trying to build. It's like, Adidas is over here. I'm trying to build my relationship through the back door. Everyone else goes through the front door with Adidas. Like, hey, let me work with you. I'm like, no, I'm already aligned with everyone else you're aligned with. It already makes sense. So then by the time that Adidas approached me, the reps at Adidas thought I had already worked for them.
Like, they were already known internally.
Yeah, they were like, oh, last time when you worked for us, I'm like, actually, like, this is my first time doing it for you guys. They're like, well, how'd you get LAFC? Because the weird thing with a company like Adidas or a big company, they only work with people they worked with in the past. Because it's, number one, it's like impossible to get set up as a vendor. Yeah. They just like,
really?
Yeah, dude, okay. It sucks. It sucks being set up as a vendor because they don't want to work with someone new. So once you get known as like, oh, this is what he does, then it's pretty easy to get something after that. So then just kept making work with them.
What was the first Adidas project?
So the first Adidas project was a huge mural in New York. It was for Upper 90 on the storefront, and it's like 120 feet long, 20 feet high. I mean, it was a massive thing. I mean, it's very similar to actually the scale of these walls in the base.
Right. So it was at the storefront of the Upper 90 store? Yeah. Okay, and what was it? What was the
So the prompt for that one, they were just about to release their throwback kits for World Cup. So it was based loosely on the color schemes of old kits, and then also those retro kits. So like the Germany ones, Colombia, Spain's old ones, like all the stuff that Adidas Heritage has done, and then tying in a little bit of like NYCFC and Red Bull, and also the Cosmos back when.
Cosmos. Okay.
Yeah, they wanted to, because Adidas had a Cosmo kit, I think when Pele, no, not when Pele was on it, before Pele was on it.
Okay.
But they wanted to like reference that, like, hey, we're New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They wanted, okay, it's not an MLS thing. It's just like, hey,
no,
New York culture, right?
It was very much New York soccer culture was the prompt, with an emphasis on World Cup heritage kits.
Okay, and so how long did that take for you to do?
So that was a week.
Okay.
I flew out one of my assistants to help me, and so me and her, we just crushed that thing. Like, it was really cold, yeah. But we made it.
What were some of the biggest challenges while you were doing that?
Dude, it was freaking windy. All right, and I mean, being from Cali,
yeah. Are you on a crane? What are you on? I'm on a scissor lift, right?
Oh my gosh, the jankiest, stupidest mechanized lift. Okay. It was a self leveler, because the wall is. So the wall is obviously 90 degrees, but the surface leading up to it was like a 30 degree angle, like pretty steep as far as like. Getting a lift, so I had to have planks of wood to stabilize the lift. But so it's like
every time you move it, you have to redo the planks, right?
And each time, you're going 20 feet in the air, and you realize like, oh, I'm on 2x4s. Right. Like, if somebody were to come and do something, like, it's on 2x4s. It's not very secure. So super sketchy, but. It worked out. Like, I feel like every mural is more of a mental challenge than anything.
Is that the store that's in Queens?
Yeah, the one that's in Queens. But they have a few locations. There's one in Brooklyn.
Yeah, they have like 4 or 5 stores, right? Okay, but that was the Queens location.
Yeah, the Queens one.
Where'd you guys end up staying, hotel-wise?
I got an Airbnb because I actually flew. I took the hotel budget and converted it to fly someone. No, I wanted to fly someone else out.
You got this budget up front for the travel accommodations.
Yeah, for travel, and I was like,
and then you included an assistant in there.
Yeah, it was like based on what it was. I'm like, you know what? I can leverage this, or like make this so that I can fly one other person out, and we'll just get a cheaper Airbnb for us 3.
Right. But if you take that hotel budget and turn it, sometimes you can turn it into like a really nice Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
Like an 8-bedroom Airbnb instead of like a hotel room, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's nice, enjoyable.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Okay.
I mean, my wife was able to come out on the back end of it, and then we got to spend the first part of Thanksgiving week. I mean, it's almost coming up on a year since I've done that.
Yeah. Okay. Since then, now though, you've done multiple projects with Adidas, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've done design on shirts one time, right, for an event, right? What else have you done?
So I've done a lot of stuff for their activations, their marketing, as far as like a boot release. Was really involved with the energy mode release. Did some work for their commercial. I've done.
Yeah, you did the
activation
what was the one with the customized boots, right?
Yeah, that was the energy mode. Okay. So the blue energy mode X, when they released X.
How many of those did you do?
I did 60.
Okay, so you did 60, and what did you paint it on them?
Yeah, I painted on them.
So each one was individualized and just specific design?
It was, we created a visual language for that made sense for the release and kind of the vibe that we want. It was very much a campaign. So like, if you take the boots at face value, it's like, oh, that's kind of random. But if you look at the boots, the commercial, the activations, the designs, like, it was very cohesive. Yeah, it was a huge project.
Okay. And so who ended up getting these 60 like influencers?
Yeah, VIPs to the
VIPs?
brand.
Okay. What? Didn't get one.
Yeah, hey man, next time.
Next time, 61, right? Yeah, I was 61, but I didn't make the cut.
61,
right?
Yeah. I was like, oh, come on.
Size 10.
I thought we did give one to UrbanFutsal. No, 100% we did.
Oh, you know what?
100%.
I think it got lost in the mail or something. I honestly think.
Dude, I legitimately, I remember writing Urban something.
Okay, let me.
Urban pitch.
Okay,
Urban.
All right. So
somebody did something.
I know. So someone has our boots out there.
Somebody got your boots.
All right. Okay. So during that time, an Adidas contact reached out to us and was like, "Hey, what's your mailing address and all that?" And I gave it. And then just nothing saw it.
Really?
Yeah, I really honestly, do think it got lost in transit somehow.
Dude, I think so too, because I did. I'm thinking of your guys' name. I'm looking at the spreadsheet in my head, Yeah, I think I
think yeah.
Some kids ripping it.
Yeah, and not only that, we never, and I think we never, obviously didn't do any shout out or posted it in social media. So probably the Adidas rep is thinking like we're ungrateful, like these punks, they don't even care.
Logistically, it was a nightmare. It was really difficult to coordinate on their end. Like it was just so hard because it was a liability because I got the boots like 3 weeks before the colorway is even announced. Like
so you had to keep it under wraps.
Yeah,
right?
they had to keep it under wraps, and they were like freaking out that I had it because it's like, oh, this kid in Riverside just has 60 I don't
boots, right?
60 boots. Like
these were outdoor firm ground.
Most of them. Some of them were like for the freestylers. Some of them got the trainers, but the firm ground one. Honestly, those firm ground boots are the best to paint on. Yeah, the absolute best.
Okay. How did you do it logistically? You were in your garage and you had them all laid out, all 60 of them, or how did it go?
I have a studio spot in Riverside. So I had my assistant. She went through and like labeled what each one was. UrbanFutsal was one that you guys didn't get. Like kicks to the pitch, other things like that, different specialty stores and whatnot, because each one had a different size, and I had to customize each one with their name and then combine some of the assets. So it was a process of like, all right, my assistant did that, and then she would hand it to me and just.
And what did you do? You used a paintbrush?
Yeah, always paintbrush.
And then you just did design.
Sometimes I draw on it with a marker, and then I'll go back over with the paintbrush.
Okay. And so was each individual shoe, were you doing it one at a time, or you just grabbing a paintbrush and lying just one big row?
One at a time, dude. It was freaking hand-to-hand combat. It took a while.
Okay, all right. I don't know, we have to line up a few of these other ones and see. It could have just been like, I'm done.
Just spray it. I wish, man. That would have been dope. It was like seriously a month of. By the end of it, I'm like, I'm over this blue, I'm over this colorway. I mean, it was a sick colorway for sure, but I mean, I was over it.
Interesting. All right, so what do you have? What do you have next in terms of your? I don't know if you consider yourself like an Adidas soccer guy, like one of the go-to artists and all that. But what do you have next in the horizon? Like, what are your next goals? Because I can tell you're always kind of looking at the next steps. And
I'm always thinking ahead. I think a lot of people in my position right now would take the work that they've done with Adidas and then now try and pin it against Nike, Puma, Umbro. They would try and get the best they could out of all, which is what you see in influencer culture at large.
Shopping around, right?
Yeah, like influencer culture is all right. I'm gonna get $100 for this post, and I'm gonna say New Balance this, and the next one is Adidas. But for me, my thesis overall in business is that business is about relationships, like 100%. So I'm doubling down on the connection with Adidas and then focusing on all the partners around it. So I'm really interested in working with every partner in MLS. So that's Heineken, Wells Fargo, AT&T, Alcatel Health, like all these things. I'm also looking at, all right, so the next World Cup's in Qatar. Qatar pretty much owns the Premier League, like in general. How do I build relationships with the Middle East? I think that instead of going to the Premier League and doing work in that, which would make more sense, I'm more interested in what would it look like to do something for the Qatari Red Stars and then build relationships within the Qatar domestic league and start to gain a presence within Qatar and Dubai specifically.
Coming through the back channel, right?
Yeah, that's I mean, honestly, that's exactly it. Like, I look at things like, what does everyone else see it? Everyone else sees, if you want to be the biggest soccer artist in the world, you got to work with Premier League. And I'm thinking that there's no way that's possible. There's too much noise. Who's working with the Qatari Red Stars? Nobody. Like, nobody's doing anything with that. Nobody's working with Dubai in general on that idea. So for me, I think there's white space in that. And if you understand like the economics of football at large, it's held in the pockets of the Middle Eastern businessmen who own it.
All right.
So that's the next steps is, all right, take this, build within MLS, leverage the idea of being someone who's near Los Angeles into Middle East. Because if you travel and you say you're near Los Angeles, there's a story associated with that. Then it's so much cooler when you're in Brazil to say you're from the area of Southern California, because everybody wants to be in Southern California or New York. It's just like a fact.
Right.
You know, everyone wants to be that. And so we kind of lose how cool it is to be here when we're in the city. You know, if I go to a coffee shop and we're just talking and I say like, I'm from Riverside, people are like, oh, okay, that's cool. 60 miles easier. Like, great. If I go to Dubai and say, you know, I'm 60 miles east of Hollywood, and they'll be like, what? That's amazing. Like, you know, like it's a completely different story, and it sets you up for a different picture.
Interesting. So then these teams that you're going to go for, these leagues, I think it's a really cool approach. When you're thinking that way, obviously there's a lot of time you have to put into the business side of things, right? How do you break down like your week, you know?
So I'm pretty disciplined in that each day I generally get to the studio around 7 a.m. So from 7 to 9 I have a 2-hour routine of I journal for 10 minutes, I do figure studies for about 25, and then I do a little bit more in-depth figure drawing for 15 minutes, and then I sketch for another 30 on my own things that I want to release, like different merchandise or the things that are fun for me. And then for the remaining time, it's work on something that I think would be cool in the future, like ideation of, all right, I want to work with this brand or work here, or, you know, whatever. It depends on the day. And then from there, if there's a big project, I'll just start working on that. And that will generally be from like 9 to noon. And then I usually go rock climbing from like noon to 1, and then I get back. And I've been doing this practice where while I'm eating lunch, I'm just finding out someone's email and sending them a pitch. Like I've just been trying to do that each day of like, hey, you've worked with X. I think it would be cool if we did this together. And it's actually been really, really successful as far as like reaching out to people.
So when you're saying reaching out to people, what type of people and what roles are they that you're reaching out to?
So if they're touching soccer, like we can work together.
Okay. So are they on the artist side or on the business side?
No, it's always the business side. Like
it'd be like a creative director type role, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you finding and navigating through that to be able to say?
So one strategy I'll do is it's easiest if like there's a conference. So there's a conference next month in Miami called Soccer X. So Soccer X will tell you a list of everyone who's going, or all the businesses. They don't tell you who it is. So you just take those businesses and you type in the business, you know, whatever art director, LinkedIn, and then you'll see like, okay, who is this person? So then I take that person, find their Instagram, and then I'll send them a nice DM, and it usually looks like, hey, I'm Geoff. I've worked for XYZ. That's relevant to that company. Really like the work you're doing with whatever in a genuine way, like whatever it is. Can I send you some of my stickers? And generally people aren't going to say no to free things.
So you say, can I send you my stickers?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I send them something, and it starts a relationship. And so then I view social media as a gateway to shaking someone's hand.
Right. Okay. It's an interesting approach. So you're looking, you're going through the business side of things to figure out who the right brands and who the contact people are, and then you're using social media to actually come in through the front, right? And kind of in a non-threatening approach, just to be able to say hi, right? And your stickers wise, it's like, it's not only your artwork and whatnot, but it's just, hey, like, you know, just a friendly approach, right?
I mean, like, when's the last time you got something in the mail from somebody you just met?
I don't know. I was expecting some boots, but did not get those, so I don't know.
Other than the boots, which never came.
I mean, we always appreciate free swag, right? Who doesn't like swag, right?
Yeah, dude, people go crazy for free things, and it doesn't matter if, you know, my stickers skew very young. Like it works with a younger audience, of course. But most of the time, those executives I'm reaching out to, they have children. Yeah. And they're going to be stoked to give their kids something. Right. Or, you know, it's just like a human relationship. That's all you boil it down to, and you build that.
So you now we're at that point where you've made the introduction, said, hi, can I send you some stickers? And then give you an address or whatever, and you send it. And then what's the time frame and follow-up approach?
So the follow-up from there is I generally, it depends on how bad I want to work with the company and if I have ideas.
An immediate idea or not, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not trying to like tax them immediately.
Yeah. Let's say it's not an immediate opportunity, but you know, like it's definitely a company that you do want to work with, that you envision in the future, and you can see it in the medium term. What would be your next kind of approach?
So then the next step would be, is there a way that I can get an in-person meeting with this person? I think that's the most realistic next step. Sometimes that's hard because they're based in New York or they're based in Oregon.
Yeah, how do you go from a sticker to a meeting is what I'm saying.
How do you go from a sticker to a meeting? So you send them the stickers. Most of the time, they're going to be stoked they got the stickers. They're going to say thank you. And if they don't, it's okay. Like I don't need the thank you. But if they say thank you, all right. So then I'm interacting with them on social media, coming along. And then what I'll do is I'll have, you know, I'm in New York from time to time or other places. And so there's like let's say 5 companies that I want to reach out to.
Got it. I'm going to be in town next month from August.
No, that's exactly. It's like, hey, I'm going to be in town for 48 hours. Would love to stop by your office to say hello. And it's a warm lead at that point. Because they know who you are. They know that you sent them something. It's almost it's almost like they're obligated to at least say hi. At least say hi. Like at least say hi.
And you're not introducing any kind of request at that point, right? Just I'm going to be in town.
Unless I think it's like really relevant. So for instance, this Soccer X that's coming up, it's coming up. I realize that, okay, they need a mural at this location. There's this one specific part that I know they haven't thought of. So that's exactly what I did. Sent the guy stickers. Wasn't able to get the in-person meeting because he's based in Miami, but said, hey, can we jump on the phone? He was down for that. We talked on the phone, sent him a pitch based on a mural. I'm going to Miami next month.
So where's the mural supposed to be? Within the convention, you're saying?
Yeah, it'll be, they have a beach soccer tournament going on. They need a photo opportunity.
Well, how did you know that they were going to need a mural at that location, or that they didn't already have one?
I just know.
How did you know that they didn't have one? You didn't know they didn't have one, though, right?
There's no way they had one. Like, they don't think about those things, though.
Okay, so you're saying that it wasn't built into the strategy, but you knew that they could use one, and it would be great.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I knew. Well, I'm just looking at it like, based at events that I've been to in the past, they would have similar things. If I suggest it and they don't have it, they're going to say yes.
You're suggesting the idea too, right? So saying, hey, I know you guys are going to be doing this X. It'd be great to have this mural, and here's what I've done in the past. What do you think? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and based on my track record that I've had with the brands that I've worked with, especially within soccer, I'll generally get the response. Like, I mean, my response rate right now is like 90 to 100%.
90 response rate, yes, positive?
Because it's very thoughtful pitching. It's not like, hey, let me do this for $1 million. It's like, okay, I'll do this. I realize like it's new. Like we'll do it at cost. Right. But then it's gonna open up doors in the future.
When do you introduce the pricing? So like when you're doing the pitch originally, saying, hey, it'd be great. So you've already made the introduction, and now you're saying, hey, for this event, it'd be great. And I noticed that there's gonna have this activation or area. I'd love to do a mural. When do you start talking about cost? During that initial foray?
I mean, their reaction is gonna be, that's dope. That sounds cool. What's the cost?
Right.
And depending on how bad you want to get that done, that determines your next thing. Sometimes it's, okay, for me, it just makes sense, like just money-wise. But most of the time, there's things that also make sense in addition to the money. So I'll tell them, like, okay, this is worth $7,000 or, whatever the amount is. And I know they're going to say, like, yeah, we don't have that. High, but then I'll say, like, all right, I want to meet this person, this person, this person. I also need this event comped. Like, can you pay for my flight? Like, and then all of a sudden now, it's like all these things. Like, no, we can't pay $7,000. But what can they give me in the networking soft skills? Like, the best thing is to be introduced by somebody who knows somebody. Like, and then it becomes like a friendship. It's like a warm lead right there. So it just opens up my doors even more. And then I know that by working with them even one time, we're likely to work again in the future. Like, and they know like, it's not like they think, oh, we got something for free, because it still costed them something in this to make these introductions, to do all these things. And they know that the next time I want to do something, it's going to be $7,000. It's not like they have this event or this thing that they can help me out with again. That's generally how it works.
I think it's pretty awesome that you don't have like a business manager doing all this either, right? That's just
this is me.
Right? Yeah. So full-time hustle, right? Non-stop grinding, right? I wanted to ask about your actual art side now, because I noticed that you have a signature look, right? How'd you come up with that? Because it's like the long limbs, right? And then you also mentioned how in the beginning you did the animal faces and transposing on top of, you know, human bodies and whatnot. But like when I see like your mural or your artwork, I can recognize it. Even though I'm not an artist, right? I can recognize it, right? There's a signature look. How did you come up with that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was my first metric of success, was when I was drawing something in the beginning, my main goal was, does this look like Geoff Gouveia drew it? And if it did, then I was stoked for that day. If it didn't, I wanted to be like why is it not? Is it because it's too much like X, or is it too much, is it not, I don't know, there's like a certain flavor you're trying to hit. And then after drawing literally thousands of drawings on paper, you know, through thousands of pages of sketchbooks, something starts to come along.
So you started getting a signature look, right? How did you come up with, so what was the idea behind like,
so I'm looking at like Shel Silverstein, you know, Shel Silverstein.
Okay.
Looking at, he was definitely like my first influences. And if you look at my early work, it has that flavor, the pen and ink, the black and white.
The childlike.
Yeah, childlike, you know, very whimsical.
The long legs and arms,
I mean, a lot of that stuff is like, yo, this is what he's doing. I'm gonna rip it in a way that combines it with, all right, I really like Van Gogh's color schemes. I really like Andre Durand's like sense of space. I like this Spanish artist Aries composition. I'm gonna take it, so you start seed picking, and then it becomes like who you are. Most of these people won't be able to see like, oh, he straight up lifted Piet Mondrian's like the style. Like he can't. They can't piece that out, but I know where
they can't pinpoint it, right?
Yeah,
it's a combination of different things, right?
Yeah, it's just an amalgamation of it, but it's like all the stuff that I like looking at, and then I just made it into like, okay, what's the Geoff Gouveia combination of that?
Got it. That's awesome to hear. All right, what do we have next, man? Like what immediate, you know, like what immediate? Yeah. In the soccer world, right?
In the soccer world,
are you gonna just stick to the soccer world for the immediate time frame?
Yeah, but I'm not saying no. So like Starbucks approached me for a mural at the beginning of the year, and that's because they found the work that I'd done with Adidas. Awesome. Same thing with Coca-Cola. Like, I'm not saying no to outside things.
No, but Coke, Coca-Cola. I don't want to do.
Yo, I'm better than you, dog. I know, it's really more of, I know that I can go super crazy deep into the soccer world, and that those people are connected to the outside world. So I'm willing to, if you're based around soccer, like I'm really willing to cut my price just to be able to align with that, because I know that it will work out. But anyone outside of soccer can point back to my work as like, oh, you've worked with all these other brands, like we want to work with you. So the upcoming stuff is I want to do a lot more collaborations with specifically with the influencers themselves, like a bunch of freestylers and people in the space that I think are cool or have a cool style. I'd like to figure that out. I'm going to be doing some more work with US Soccer Foundation and Street Soccer USA. I did a kit for them, and I'll be painting US Soccer Foundation's office in DC. Okay.
Did they reach out to you, or did you reach out?
Yeah, it's a combination. I did the court. I just did a court for LAFC, Adidas, US Soccer Foundation. Yeah, the one in Watts.
Yeah.
And I really like Rob over there at US Soccer Foundation. He's an awesome guy. Right. So want to do some more work with them. I'm really keen on getting to Dubai. I honestly feel like if I can get a mural in Dubai, it's going to explode my career. Like I just have this feeling. I had this feeling when I painted for Facebook, and it was right. I had this feeling when I painted for Adidas in New York, and it was right. And I have this feeling now for Dubai. That if I get Dubai, it's I don't know where it could go. Like it feels that way to me.
So with Dubai, then what are you actively, what's your actual strategy?
Doing the same thing. Like I'm straight up pitching people on the Dubai Sports Council, and like I have a few emails out right now, and I've gotten some responses. I wanted to do some stuff for the beach soccer World Cup that's happening in like 2 weeks in Dubai.
And that's in Dubai, okay.
I don't think it's going to happen because it's so soon, but I mean, I honestly feel like something's gonna go through because of how cool LA is to the world at large. And then as I align myself with that, it'll just make sense.
That's awesome, man. We want to wish you the best of luck. Yeah, and hopefully next time you're doing any of these like customized pieces, we do get one. But want to thank you for coming.
Check your mailman, dog. Check your mailman.
Yeah, I'm gonna check our mailman. He's got probably like the freshest kicks on right now, right?
Like, yo, those are my firm grounds.
Right. Yeah, want to thank you for coming through.
Yeah, thanks for having me out, man. I really appreciate it. You guys have been, the article you guys wrote on the LAFC piece, specifically, I felt like was one of the first times that a publication really got like what I was trying to go for. Like Jeremy really crushed that article. So like even my mother-in-law was really just stoked on it.
That's great to hear. Yeah, that's great to hear.
It's just because people always ask me surface level stuff, you know, and it's cool to get a little bit further into it.
Yeah, with colors and Pantone, right? But yeah, to really get deep into it.
Yeah,
right?
like the reason behind it and whatnot. So I really appreciate you guys.
That's good, man. That's good. Good to, you know, it's like validation on our part, you know, for the work that we do as well.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
For sure.
Thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Wish you the best of luck in the future as well.
Cool.
All right. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in to Urban Pitch Podcast, The Beautiful Game of Life.